So after many DMs on Instagram, I've decided to make my first tutorial. So I'm going to recreate something that I've been seeing everywhere on Pinterest and on my explore page on Instagram. And I hope you guys like it. I think it's a pretty simple project, so I thought it was a good one for me to start with, and also a good one for you guys if you're not very experienced in sewing. It's a pretty easy project. Also, just a side note, you guys, but English is obviously not my first language, and I feel like my personality doesn't really translate well when I'm speaking a foreign language. I'm Portuguese, by the way. So this is probably a really boring tutorial, but all the steps are there, so in case you actually want a tutorial, you can follow this one and achieve the results. But if you're looking for entertainment, this is probably really boring. But I hope you enjoy it, guys, and in case you actually recreate this, I would love for you to tag me. I'm going to leave all my socials down below, which is basically my Instagram, but I hope you guys enjoy it. So first you're gonna have to take some measurements. This top is basically a trapezoid shape, and you have to take the measurements from your upper bust, down your boobs, and also the length you want it to be, so basically from the upper bust until where you want it to stop. I made mine a little bit longer than the original one because the original one is basically a bra and I wanted mine to be a little bit more wearable, so I extended the length a bit. And after you've taken all of your measurements, it's basically time to draft a pattern. You don't have to draft a pattern, but I always feel a little bit more comfortable after I draw everything out. So after you have your measurements, you're just going to add 15 centimeters to each side, so that when you gather the fabric, the final result is your actual measurements. The fabric I'm using to make this top is actually from an old shirt, so I'm basically upcycling it. Initially I wanted to use the stripes vertically, but the shirt wasn't wide enough, so I had to use them horizontally. Also, this top has a lining, so I wanted to make the lining a different color so that you can wear it both ways. You get two tops for one. So for the lining color I chose light blue fabric, so that you get a blue top and a white top. I ended up liking the blue top better, but I think it's mostly because of the fabric. I like the design of the white fabric, but I don't think it works that well for this specific top because it's too much gathering for me. I like the smoother surface of the blue mixed with the gathering. And now it's time for the fun part. You're just going to sew it all around, and you just have to leave a gap so that you can turn it inside out. So after this sewing bit, you can now iron your seams. This is not something that you have to, but when I first started sewing I never did, and stuff always turned out so wonky, so I'm really advising you to do it. And after you've ironed all your seams, you can now turn it inside out, and you can use like a chopstick to make the corners neater. And after that you're going to iron everything again so that it becomes really flat and all the seams are lined up. And now it's time to create the channels. I cannot tell you exactly the measurements where your channel should start because I followed the lines that were already on the pattern of my fabric. But basically just hold up the fabric against your chest and see where you want the straps to hug you. After you've created the channels, you can now sew it all around. You just have to be really careful because you need to stop when you come to the beginning of a channel, and then you can start sewing when that channel ends, because you need to leave that open so that the strap can feed through. You just have to do like I'm showing here. So I'm approaching the beginning of a channel, so I'm stopping and backstitching. It should look like I'm showing you here, so there's no stitching where the channel starts. And as you had already sewn it all around in the beginning, there are stitches securing the channel anyway, so you just have to seam rip like 4 or 5 stitches so that basically the strap will be able to fit through. And this is where everything went to hell for me, because I wanted to make the strap using the fabric from the shirt, but it just didn't work out. I sewed it all around, I started turning it inside out, and the stitches just fell apart because the fabric was fraying too much. And I wanted to make a spaghetti strap, so even if I used more seam allowance so that even if it frayed a bit, it wouldn't come apart, the spaghetti strap wouldn't work because it's supposed to be thin. So basically it's in the trash now. That's where it is. But it's okay, I just lost some hours of my day and it's freaking life. It's okay. So then I came up with another solution. I used some bias tape I already had and I just folded it and stitched it all around. I used around 3 meters, but you just have to take the measurement to see how much you need, because it all depends on your size obviously. And now you just have to feed through the strap. You have to do it like the diagram I just showed so that you achieve the final look of the top. But it's pretty easy, you just have to follow exactly the steps that I showed. And at this point your top is done. If you have any questions, just leave them down below. I'll be happy to answer them, and if there's anything that you think I should have done different, leave it down below too, so that if someone actually recreates it, they can follow your advice too. So I hope you like the end result, and I hope to see you next time, guys.